Welcome to the week 4 office hours. So we're here on top of one of the new buildings at MIT Sloan School with Boston in the background. And what we'd like to do here is use this office hour video to reconnect with some of the intentions from the live session, and also give you, as usual, a little bit of an overview of what's ahead and what some people are encountering as they go through the course right now. So Otto, do you want to say anything to bring us back to
Sure.
some of the experience of the live session?
Well, first off, it was really wonderful to see kind of both on the PI website and also in the Facebook group many of the experiences that you shared with each other and with us, kind of what happened for you in terms of opening and connecting to the deeper levels of our own sources. During the last live session and kind of in the hours and days after. I also got a number of mails referring to and questions referring to the story that I shared with the philosopher, kind of the deep listening experience that I shared and what it did with me. And one of the questions that was repeatedly asked is, what did that experience do to me? So what was the impact for me when I had this kind of revered philosopher, after he gave me the interview, turning to me and saying these words. So the first thing, really kind of bringing back my memory of that situation, is that I used the wrong words to translate what he actually said. So he didn't say, I expect great things from you in the future, but he said, I expect a lot from you in the future, which I really want to correct, because it's really even a much better statement, because it doesn't kind of it doesn't put you under much of pressure, but it really invites you to look at yourself from a different angle. And then on the question, so when I heard these words, I thought, well, there's who is he talking to? Obviously not the person I know as myself, so there must be someone else. There was no one else in the room, so there must be maybe another aspect of myself that I had not been aware of previously. So what else, as you were reading up on some of these other stories that we heard, what struck you?
So we asked for those of you who would like to share some of your experiences on the discussion board, and I noticed that there were a number of people who had put in descriptions of what their field of the future looked like, also some intentions that people maybe crystallized a little bit for them in the live session. So I picked out a few examples. Oftentimes it's helpful to hear what other people have gone through. Maybe it's similar to yours, or maybe it's very different. That's part of what's interesting. So the first one that I wanted to read was from Miranda O'Connell, who says, the most significant insight for me from the live session was the realization that I can simultaneously pursue my two intentions. Rather than competing with each other for my time and energy, they feed each other and enable progress to a bigger whole. So maybe that connects with your experience too. Maybe you're sitting with two different things that you don't see how they come together in your life. Maybe you made some progress on that in the live session, or that could still be ahead for you. It also doesn't have to happen right now in the live session, but I thought that might be a common experience for some people. The second one was a description that was sent in about what someone's field of the future looked like, and I thought this was interesting for its detail. So this was from Eva, who said, the live session was transformational for me. Stepping through the gate, which to me appeared not as a gate, but rather as a heavy Fort Knox vault door, took me to a place of light with a path cutting through that light towards a farmhouse. And I was already halfway down that path. The feelings were peace and courage. Out of that image, an intention crystallized that to help bring peace into the world one person at a time through mindfulness. That was her intention. And when I've done this journaling exercise many times, and sometimes in my experience I have a very specific, clear image like that. And some other times I also have nothing at all. and I've heard from many people that that's also a similar experience. So whether you had a very specific, clear, detailed image, or it was just black, there's not a right or wrong way to have that experience. I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, absolutely. I think it's wonderful to share this great example, but it should also not be misleading by taking this as the role model, how it should be. That's actually not the case. There is no, as you said, kind of no right or wrong way of doing it, and it's less about what it is and really more about what you do with what it is that's emerging for you. So that's really the main space of this week, kind of the crystallizing, which is kind of this threefold dialogue with yourself, with kind of each other, kind of in your maybe coaching community, with your dialogue partners, and with the universe, kind of about what's emerging.
So maybe one last comment that maybe will also connect with some people, and this was from David in Syracuse, who said basically that, you know, in the hub that they had there, a lot of people were dealing with the question, I mean, I'll just paraphrase, basically, people had come in with an intention to use u.lab for an organizational issue or work issue, and a lot of what came up in the live session was that, well, actually, this is kind of personal stuff. So there was a little bit of a question of, you know, how to balance that when you think you're coming into something for maybe work purposes and then the personal shows up. Any thoughts on that type of experience?
Well, I think that's a great point to bring up, and in a way, the whole point about why do we have something like u.lab in a world that's already too much filled up with professional trainings on the one hand and personal development opportunities on the other hand. The whole point why we do it is because we believe those two things are two different sides of the same thing, the same larger thing. So we really want to create, and for some of us it's the professional education, the professional mastery that is driving, leading us into this space, and for others it's really more kind of on the personal side at the outset, but then also leading more into the professional realm and the collective realm. So for us it's two different sides of the same thing, and we really want to, if that happens and if there are surprises that happen to you, that's wonderful, and it's an invitation to have like a quality environment and many colleagues in this network that can help you to progress on that journey, because in our mainstream institutions, those two things, you're right, tend to be separate.
So those are a few of the experiences. There were many more, and if you would like to add yours, we would love to hear from you, as I'm sure your other colleagues in u.lab would as well. So the thread is on the discussion board. We'll put a little link to it below the video. Maybe just a couple of other things very briefly as we move on from the live session to week 5 and the rest of the journey forward. So we have received a lot of emails from people about the listening assessment and some other features on the u.lab community site. And a few of the emails have expressed some frustration that the way it's set up is not ideal. There are some difficulties that people are encountering with the profiles and various things. So we wanted to say a couple of things. One, we're very well aware that the site has some bugs. We're trying to work through those. We're continually moving towards what we hope and think will be an improved experience for u.lab participants going forward. But we're aware that there are some issues right now. That said, with the listening assessment in particular, actually it was something we just kind of came up with last year, 2 years ago, how to translate a practice that you don't actually need the computer for into an online space. And the practice, really, the main point is that we want you to just spend a few minutes at the end of each day reflecting on the quality of your listening. Now, when we had to move that online, we had to choose percentages, we had to choose how much, how many times per day you could do this, but that's not really the main point. The main point of the exercise, even if you have trouble accessing the online piece, the main point is that we want you to take a few minutes and reflect on the quality of your listening at the end of each day. And if you do that, that counts equally in terms of filling out that requirement for the course. Anything else you want to say about the listening assessment practice?
Yeah, maybe two things in addition to that. So there was also concern from some expressed that if you don't do the online listening practice, is that a problem vis-a-vis the honor track? What is it called?
For the certificate.
For the certificate. And the answer is it's not. So the certificate track is based on honor code, which is we go basically by what you declare. So you don't need to do this for us. In other words, we only put this online tool into place because we thought it might be helpful for some to actually engage in this practice in a more regular way. But as Adam just said, that the key point is the practice, that you take 2-3 minutes in the evening, that you really ask yourself, okay, as I rewind the day, are there 1, 2, or 3 maybe examples where I moved into deep listening, kind of where I moved from listening 1 and 2 towards listening 3 and 4. And then if you did have these experiences, you explore them a little bit. What were the enabling conditions, the outer conditions, the inner conditions, and you train yourself kind of to notice these things. And then when you do this review kind of every day, you will find yourself that kind of this kind of turning around the camera and observing yourself over time will extend from your 3-minute evening practice to being permanently available for you in real time. That means as you are in a conversation, before it happens that you move back to download and you actually can make a choice to explore the deeper levels of listening. That's really why we do it, and that's the point about the practice.
Thanks. Well, that's really helpful. And that basically brings us to the end of the office hours for this week. So we'll move in the coming week into crystallizing and into prototyping. And I think maybe the only thing just to point out right now is that people move at different paces at this point in the course. Sometimes, people stay a little bit longer in the presencing phase. Sometimes they're ready to move into prototyping quickly. Any last piece of advice about how to move forward at this point in the course?
Well, go with the flow of your own experience and really wrap the process around what you need and kind of the speed of progress that you experience and your team is experiencing. Because at the end of the day, yes, we are a global ecology of people who support each other in doing this, but the timeline and kind of what steps are necessary, you always have to modify according to the conditions that you find in your own context. So that's really the essence of the U process. So observe, observe, observe is nothing else than saying, hey, pay attention to your context and adjust what you are called to do and kind of what your context is calling you to do, rather than imposing kind of like a pre-thought schedule on everything. So just take that as an encouragement to modify the process as needed, and the method and tools that we make available for you through this infrastructure, kind of the u.lab MOOC, will be available for you way beyond the formal end of the class. And that's really our intention. And with the website, the reason why we do not invest too significantly in improving the current one is that we think kind of we need to take it to a whole other level, something we hope to be able to launch next year.
All right, that's it for this week, and we'll see you later in the week.